Hello, League City. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sarah Greer Osborne, the Communications Director for the City of League City. And today we're kicking off the first of 7 candidate interviews with the 7 candidates that are running for League City Council. We're starting today with Ange Mertens. How are you doing today?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
Great. So just to go over quickly how this is going to work, we have 30 minutes. We're going to spend the first 25 minutes with some topics that are the same for all candidates that I frankly emailed you guys so you know the general topics. And then we've had questions from our residents that were due, and they made the timeline, so we have about 20 in here. And so the last 5 minutes, because frankly we couldn't get all of these in a half hour, so the last 5 minutes we're going to draw these questions out, kind of a rapid fire, answer as many as you can in the last 5 minutes. Sound like a plan?
Sounds great.
Thank you, Angie. All right, so let's just start first with your overall background, your family, your education. How long have you lived in League City?
Well, I've lived in League City in March 20 years.
Wow.
I grew up in Clear Lake, went to Clear Lake High School. I lived in California for a while and then moved back to, I kind of chose League City. And really, coming from Clear Lake, it was kind of more more like a big city to me, part of Houston. And I loved League City's feel of community. I love those oak trees down Main Street. And so I have 3 beautiful daughters, and they were all CCISD educated. I have one that graduated from Clear Creek, one from Clear View, and one from Clear Springs. So we have multiplied all of the education places around here. But we did have that one kid that was starting Clear Springs, so freshman at Springs and a senior at Creek. So that was an interesting time where there were no permits, so you went to the different schools. So it was kind of interesting, and they both loved it, and all of them loved their education here. So that was one of the draws was the school system. It was a small town there. I think the sign said 45,000 people when I moved in. When my daughter graduated in 2005, the sign said 72,000 people. And then now what are we, 106?
Well, 110 going on 112, yeah.
So I've watched a lot of it grow. Well, my daughter was on the drill team with Ashley Hallisey, which is Mayor Pat's daughter. And so one of the first things I did was met at Janice. And she asked me to. I have a background in broadcast journalism, and
let's answer, go that way.
Oh, okay.
So talk about. So clearly, grew up, spent a lot of time here, raised your family here, your 3 daughters here. Talk a little bit about your professional life, so people kind of know your professional career as well.
So I started out working at Southwest Airlines. I was a choreographer in the film industry. My ex-husband is a key grip. Y'all all look up and see what that is. They head up the equipment and stuff like that. I always say dollies, cranes, helicopters, stunt cars, because then we knows what a key grip is. Anyway, so we moved to Los Angeles.
So what's a choreographer for
So I worked on music videos.
Okay, got it.
I worked for Patsy Swayze.
Oh wow.
So she'd been a dance teacher at my gymnastics gym here in Houston. So we didn't have insurance, so I got a job at Southwest Airlines at the ticket counter. So I'd work early in the morning there, and then I would either work at my choreography job or I went back to school and got a degree in broadcast journalism because that's what old actresses do. So
don't reveal our secret.
I did theater here in the town, so a bunch of people knew me from that. So, but broadcast journalism seemed more fit for me. I know that people see my not serious side, but my dad was a scientist, so he was a genius. I have a very serious side with deep conversations with him, and I really loved that. I loved that banter with my father, and so the journalism really helped with that. I did a show called Good Morning Torrance in California, and then I worked a little while for Entertainment Tonight as an on-set reporter. And so I get to interview the stars. You just don't get to see me do the stars.
Yeah.
So Nancy gets all the questions. Looks like she's asking them, but of course she doesn't go to the movie sets. And then I worked for Fox Sports, and then I got divorced, and so I moved back to Texas. And I decided with journalism I would have to probably move, and I wanted a stable society here, so that's why I picked League City, decided to stay, and I became a flight attendant at Southwest. So I had actually quit for just a little bit. So I went back as a flight attendant. I could make a lot more money and support my kids. And that's one thing that people, I want to break a fallacy right here, is that I'm not gone very much. The reason I took the job as a flight attendant is because they're only gone 2.5 days a week.
And then the rest of the time,
I'm
there.
Yeah. So I very rarely ever missed anything. That I had dancers and cheerleaders, so I never missed a football game or a competition.
So it actually ended up being very, very great to raise your 3 daughters as a single mom to take that job. That's
right.
Great.
And, a lot of the candidates like to say I'm retired or I have the time. Well, I have a full-time job, but I'm still home 4.5 days out of the week. Plus, if I take off a 3-day span of work, now I have 12 days off. So it's a really easy job to be able to spend time doing something that you need to do. So it's been really great. So then I started doing journalism here. I wrote for the Galveston Daily News. I wrote for Bay Area Houston Magazine. I've done 2 radio shows. So I still did the journalism here. And all of my shows and columns have always been about community here in League City, Clear Lake, Galveston area. Because there's such great people doing great work. They raise so much money out of nothing and have these wonderful events. And I like to put a spotlight on them. And so that's what I've kind of been doing for the past 18 years with my journalism. But I am a flight attendant. I always say that I kind of feel a camaraderie with our first responders because people don't think about flight attendants. It's not all,
No, absolutely not.
Can I serve you?
Yeah.
My life's work kind of is, can I serve you? So I do have a job that is serving in the community.
Well, that leads me to my next question as to why the thought, why running for council, which is exactly another service position. Council members don't get paid. It really is a service job. So why the decision to run for council? I know this is your second time running?
It is. Okay.
So
let me say first, because
sure.
I kind of strayed off of the Halleses. I didn't want to say I was meeting the Halleses, but they did ask me to MC the League City Parade, which I've been doing for 18 years.
The Holiday in the Park.
The Holiday in the Park. And it's put on by an organization called League City Proud, which I'm on the board of directors for. And a lot of people think the city put that on. And even though the city does really help and they provide, the trash support and all that, they're really great. But it is League City Proud, and it's headed up by the Halleses, and that's kind of how I got involved in League City. And I thought, wow, what a great! There's so much to do here.
Yeah.
And people are involved, and they really want you to be involved. And Janice Hallesy always says, I can't say no if you ask me to do something for a charity, and that's pretty much true. Pretty much true. Okay, so. It is just a continuation of my service to want to run for city council. A lot of the candidates that are running are new. We don't have any incumbents. We have a lot of people that are new to the community, and what great thing that they want to get involved.
Yeah.
But I always say mine's not new. For 20 years, I've been going to city council meetings and budget meetings and learning about the city. I sit on the city parks board, which is invaluable to teach you. We're a city manager run city. Some people think, I think our mayor is great, but he's kind of just another city council member, except for he leads the meetings. He is great in an emergency. He is also in charge then. But the city manager runs the day-to-day operation.
Right.
And then each department. And so it's great to learn that from within one of the boards, because you see how people always say, well, why don't we apply for grants? There's probably money out there. And I'm always like, you think?
My God,
they apply for every single grant out there.
Yeah.
And, that the city's always looking for, some way to save money, to get money to, for the police officers to get their new flak jackets or whatever. A lot of that comes from grants. And so they're always looking for that. And so it's neat to see inside of that because, on the outside, we have no idea. We have no idea what the city does. We, think that the city council is up there making all of these decisions, which really the departments that bring them the stuff are really doing all the research and all the work. And then the council gets that information. And Mr. Cancel has to assimilate a lot of information because they're coming from all of the departments, especially at budget time.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing of being a journalist, is that when you're an investigative journalist, you have to research the truth, look it out, find the answer to things. And so researching and reading, that's just a part of my daily life. So that I thought was one of my strengths. I thought, this is something I can do. I am a good peacekeeper, and we have had some crazy city councils, and God rest his soul, Chris Reed. 2 years ago when I ran, I said, if y'all are having fight back, in the back rooms, Chris Reed's going to be my proxy because, I need a big person, because I'm not a big person, but I think that my strengths are big. And so, that I think that peacekeeper thing is very important. I come from a Democrat and a Republican parents. My dad's from California, my mom's from Missouri. So, at our house, you had to prove your point. You couldn't get angry or mad or passionate is good if you can keep your temper. And so that was a lesson that was learned that's going to serve me as a city council member well, I think, is because you have to stand up with your strengths, but give them out by intelligence. Serve up your information intelligently and calmly, and people listen to you. If you just spout out a whole bunch of politics and statistics and all that, you're not really getting your message out. Just talk to the people, find out what they want, and assimilate the information intelligently. And I think that that's a skill that I can give to city council.
So let's talk platform and issues that really you want to see addressed if elected.
Well, all of us, any person that's run for the past few years is going to say flooding, infrastructure, traffic issues, and all of those are supremely important. But 3 years ago during Hurricane Harvey, if anybody's ever looked at my Facebook or go look at it, I have pictures of me standing in chest-high deep water in my street. I was actually reporting for Channel 11, and so I would walk out there and people would go, I can't believe you walked in the street. And I'm like, well, we needed to show. People need to know what's going on out here. We couldn't get out of our neighborhood. My son-in-law, my two son-in-laws and I that were there helped people out of windows. There was a helicopter across the street. We stood there for 3 days, sometimes with my 2-year-old grandson at the time, trying to explain why our world is underwater. It was very emotional, and I don't want to see anybody ever go through that again. So flooding is a big thing to me. And I think that I said last night in the forum something about that, we built a city in a rice field. It floods naturally. This is a place that floods. It's not new. It's something that we've always had to deal with. The only reason we can really get rid of flooding is to raise everything, or to have so much retention that we can get rid of it. I'd like to see some kind of a reservoir system. On the west side, we have a great opportunity. We have a lot of land. We have a lot of parks land that's going to be given to us by the developers. And I'd like to see something that's used for other things when it's not raining, but has the opportunity to hold water when we have a big flood, because it has to go somewhere. Because Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou can't hold it all. So I think that we have to really think outside of the box, maybe not just the things we've always been doing. So I'm very passionate about flooding just because I was in there. I'm sure a lot of people, most people were. And so that's a huge issue for me. But right now, we really have to kind of help the people who have been affected by COVID. We are a city that has businesses going out of business. People are losing their business, their homes, and we need to make sure that we can find a way to help those people right now. People like to say in Lake City, it takes forever to do anything. I mean, we had a proposed bridge 16 years ago that's still not there. We have roads that are supposed to be going through, still aren't built. It takes a long time, and that's not against the city. I mean, you have to have eminent domain and buy people's houses, and that's hard. People don't want to just move. Oh, you want to buy my house so you can build a road? That's hard to do, but we need to do something quickly for these people. I do say the first thing we can do is just retrain our brains to stay here for everything. Shop local, eat at the local restaurants, call your local plumber. Don't even go to Clear Lake. You know, call your local plumber and eat at your local restaurants. It's one way that we can help. I'm hoping that we can use some CARES money to help the businesses that are going out of business. But I think that's kind of my main focus right now.
So we've hit the 15-minute mark, so we got 10 more of these topics, and then we'll go to our fishbowl of questions. So, strengths of League City and weaknesses. What are our overall strengths, and what do we need to work on, do you think, of as a city?
Well, we talked about Hurricane Harvey for a second, and I think that is our absolute shining moment. I wrote a column, and we said, you know, because of the love, the neighbor helping neighbor, this city did not have to have a lot of FEMA help. That people, the football teams, do you see, would go from house to house to house, ripping things out, taking their stuff. It just neighbors helping neighbors was great. I think that in the column I said something like, we now know that in League City we now have more love than water. Because it you know, that's all people knew us about, flood. But I think that after it, they know us for neighborliness. That's again back to the feeling of community. I think that's our greatest strength. It's going to get us through every crisis that comes up, and that's great to know. We need to keep the bigger our city gets, the harder it's going to be to keep the community feel. But I think that we need to try. We need to try, and no matter how big we get, if you're a councilman, you need to be open to listening to everyone's questions, be accessible, still have community events, have the people come out, get to know each other, get to know your neighbors so that when we have that crisis, you're there for each other. That's our big strength. The other thing I mentioned before, we had some crazy councils in the past. My mom lives in Galveston and reads that paper from cover to cover. And she would call and say, "Oh, your city council's on the front page again," you know. And I want to make sure that we're not known for that. Let's have a council that is giving and caring and intelligent and smart, and that's what we're known for. The controversy, I'd like to keep that out.
Okay. So, future growth of the city. A lot of folks don't realize we got about almost half, 45% of the city has yet to be developed. Basically, there for whatever we want it to be. So, and we're expected to double our population really in the next 20 to 30 years. Talk about what you want to see happen as far as future growth, because it's going to happen no matter what. What do you think needs to happen to make it successful?
I think that's one thing that we get asked all the time. Like, why don't they just make it stop growing? You know,
which we can't.
You can't. It's illegal. People have land they can build as long as it fits the building codes, and most of those things have already been set where the houses can be built and businesses. I think that the biggest thing we need to do is obviously keep our infrastructure ahead of building. We've been behind now. You know, we grew so fast that we didn't have enough roads. They weren't, you know, wide enough or long enough. And so we have the opportunity, at least on the west side, to get ahead of growth, because that's where most of it's going to be. And make sure those roads are built before we get all of the houses and businesses in over there. I know that we've already bought water from Pasadena and Houston, so that's already being piped over there. We know what the future is. These aren't new. City Council has been looking at growth. But the one thing that I just want to say is we just need to make sure that we're not looking 5 years down the road. We're looking 40 years down the road. You know, I have a 5-year-old grandson, and he's my favorite human. And it just scares me to say, but when he grows up and have children, we need to be prepared for those people, those children, so that we don't have this traffic problem and this growth problem then.
So let's talk specifically on the growth and evolution of the city's parks and library facilities, services as it relates to the future growth of the city. Those, you know, your tax dollars pay obviously for public safety and all of that, but also for library and also for parks and recreation. What are your thoughts on growth and evolution of those services for our residents?
Well, I think that one thing I mentioned before, that there's, you know, more than 100 acres that are going to be donated from the builders over. It's a part of their necessary things that they have to give to build over on the west side. And I think that that's great that we're thinking about what our future parks will be. And I don't think that they have any idea of what they would be. I'd like to see, like I said, a whole center with, something that's a reservoir area, recreation that the people can hang out at. Maybe have the West Side Library be a part of like a Hometown Heroes complex where it's not its own building, but we do have the facility because people need those computers and for the kids and the elderly. There's so many programs, but I think the library, one of the biggest things right now is the computers. That if they don't have, we can't imagine that not having a cell phone and a computer, but not everybody in League City does. So we need to provide that. So I like that on the west side as well, but I'd like to see it be a part of a bigger complex. When I first got on the parks board, we took a field trip and went to all the parks. Because I go, guys, I think I know the city pretty well, but where the heck is Myrtle Park? Well, Myrtle Park is back there behind Clear Creek Village, and it's going to have kayak ramps and all kinds of things. And I was like, it's not developed, so I just never heard it. But we went and saw all of the parks, and guys, find your parks.
Yeah.
We have some really cool parks, and I think that they are diversified. We have the Dudney Nature Trails, we have the dog park, we have we're going to have what is it called when my brain has left me again. The exercise area at the Hometown
we're going to have
Park.
the 5K loop.
Yeah,
and the exercise.
Yeah,
I know.
So you can't think of it either. I'm glad you can't think of it either. But you do all the stuff.
Oh, it's almost like Ninja Warrior. You hang on things and all of that. Yeah,
I'm glad it's a word that we can.
Pre-installed exercise system.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's neat. So it's diversified. When they're building the 5K loop, they're talking to running clubs, and they're like, okay, so guys, we need to change the entrance, because there's going to be so many people coming in from their buses, or once they're done, they don't need to walk across. They're planning out for certain things. The bike trails, they talk to BMX riders and see what it is that they need, and they have a trail that's for them. So really trying to be diversified, and I think that they're already on the way to that. I'd just like to see, I'm excited to see what the future is. And go on the trails. We have, about 30 miles of biking and hiking trails right now, and we expect to have 200 by the end. They'll go all the way to Kemah. So that we have some exciting parks. I really love that. And I think people should go out there and find out what we have. Because I think, even I was on the parks board, and I had to go, where is this? No.
Yeah, good point. So last question of these before we get into our magic bowl here. The impact of COVID on our city, and how do we move forward as a community? You touched a little bit about this, but
I think that just what I was saying is that we just, as leaders in the community, I think the main thing we need to do is find out. That's a great sign of a leader, is not just saying, I believe in this, and this is my thing, is that you lead by knowing the problem, or your enemy, or whatever it is that you're leading toward. So the best thing is education. So we're going to have to talk to the business owners, maybe have some forums, some city halls that we can talk to and find out what they need. Because, I thought, we could divide up the CARES money that we get $55 per person and give some to the businesses. Well, I called a couple of small businesses and said, okay, what do you have to have for a week? And they were anywhere from $14,000 to $17,000. And I was like, I was thinking,
and the rules with how we can spend the CARES money too.
But if they're COVID related, or businesses that are going out, but you're like, okay, so say we gave a $25,000 grant, or somebody gave a $25,000 grant to a business. Well, what that's going to help them for 2 weeks. It's really not going to, it'll help. That would help. I'm sure anything will help. That's like the money that everybody got, $1,200. You're like, that helps. It's not going to change my life.
Yeah.
It doesn't even pay most people's mortgage for 1 month. So that we need to think bigger. And so I think that we're just really going to have to we have a lot of people in this city. Let's support our local businesses and find out what we can do for them, but mostly go to them.
All right, it's that time. We got 5 minutes. Nora's here. Is going to let us know. So pick, and we'll just keep picking as you answer them.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead and read. Why not?
Are there any capital improvement projects that you believe should go to the citizens directly to a vote? Capital improvement? I mean, I think everything is important to talk to the people. I don't know, every time that we go to a vote. A big subject right now is the West Side Library. And I think that it's controversial enough that we would want to know what the people think. Whether it's a huge paid vote or some kind of a way that we can take a tally. But I think that it's a very important thing for some people, and some people think it's outdated. So we need to be somewhere in the middle and make sure that we're providing and asking them.
Yeah. I should put this just over here.
As League City continues to grow, how do we make sure that future development of both homes and businesses is done with the utmost respect to nature while also being sustainable? Well, I think that requiring the builders to provide that open park spaces that we already talked about is one way that we're trying to keep nature as a part of it. These park systems, anything that's going throughout. So we've kind of touched on that, but I think that we need to make sure that that's followed through with. Also, the building codes, like builders have to build up 2 feet now. Well, they're supposed to prove that they're not going to flood the people around them or damage any natural areas around them. But we need to follow through and make sure once they build, those neighborhoods are safe, that those either bird sanctuaries or whatever it is, we have a lot of environmental things around, that they are actually followed through with that.
Oh, you got the hang of this now. Look at you.
I know, man.
Reaching for the next one.
The city currently provides hotel occupancy tax to the Butler Longhorn Museum to support their day-to-day operational costs. Do you support using hot funding for the museum currently and in the future? Well, I love the history of the city, so I think that's a fabulous thing to have. I want everyone to know the history of League City. I do think that it's kind of controversial how Butler Longhorn Museum kind of supported itself, and then we told them that they couldn't have weddings and events, and that's how they were making the money. So maybe we could work with the neighbors a little bit and do afternoon events and no nighttime events, or have a stopping time or something that they can still sustain that. I think that we should promote school, more field trips, charge $5, $7, whatever to the kids. We have 42,000 kids in our schools. And then there's schools all around, you know. So, like they take all second grade kids to the one-room schoolhouse.
Yeah.
Something like that drives kids into it and bring them from all the other neighborhoods. So, yes, right now I think that, I'd rather come from the hot taxes than anywhere else in the budget. But I do think that we kind of took stuff away from them and just left them hanging. Like, oh, you can't do how you're making your money, but, So if we're going to pay for it, then let's find ways to promote it, push them out there. If you haven't been to Butler Longhorn Museum, even just to the property, to what is the park called?
Heritage Park.
We always called Gazebo Park, which is really League Park.
League Park.
And so that's what it was coming to my mind. Yeah, Heritage Park. It's beautiful. You can feed the turtles.
I think we might be running out of time.
Right.
How much time we got left? 2 minutes. Okay, we got 2 minutes.
If elected, what is your plan for keeping the citizens informed during your term of office? I think that we're an electronic age, so obviously we have to push on every electronic device that we have available, and make sure that we're available the other way as well. But we do have some old school, so we need to utilize the newspaper for some things, that make sure that people that don't use electronic devices can still get them.
All right, we'll try for one more. Oh, we got 1 minute left. Why don't we say 1 minute left? You sum up what you'd like to say and close. Why don't we do that? We'll give you a minute to close on up.
All right. Well, the thing that I just want to say is I think League City is the greatest place. One of the reasons why I think that is that we have the best police and fire in the United States. I said last night, when I go to sleep at night, I can do that because of the police and firemen that we have here, firefighters. And I think that we do have a council so far that is really concerned about the citizens, that I'd like to join that and just bring my particular skills. Like I said, I think that being able to assimilate the information, being able to calmly find out what I think is the best for the most people. I am kind of middle of the road on most politics. I think that our society has gone crazy, and if we're just like, you Republican and you Democrat, and we can't listen to each side, then everybody's not going to feel represented. So I want to make sure that we feel like an entire community, and I want to make sure that we do the things that we talked about. Make sure that the flooding has some new way, something that's innovative, that's not just the same old way. That's pretty much the same. Let's not do what we've been doing forever and the same old way. Think of new ways. Think of ways to get things done more quickly. Get on our contractors. Make sure that roads are built, bridges are built, and that we finish things. That's always a big thorn in our side here in League City, is that we have projects, we change them, we redo them, we redesign them, we vote to change where they're located. So stick with a project, decide on it, and get it done. I always say that my life motto is that action speaks louder than words. That goes in my community service, for charity, for community, and for city council as well. That I just want to make sure that our actions speak louder than words. Let's not just talk about it, let's do it.
Well, Angie, thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you watching, we're also going to put this up on the website and on channel 16, so you'll be able to rewatch as well. Once again, thank you for joining us. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, we are letting our candidates not wear a mask so you can clearly hear them. And listen to them, and so I'm wearing a mask, and we're also 6 feet apart. So I just wanted to mention, in case people go, well, why is she wearing a mask and you're not?
I'm not a no masker.
Yes.
I wear one all day, every day.
In with blood, and so so we want, and that is what we will be doing with the candidates. I will wear a mask here. We'll be distance away, but we want to make sure you can hear the candidates clearly and know what they are saying. Obviously, it's super
thank you
important.
for your civic responsibility.
I just wanted to put that out in case somebody put it in the comments section.
And thank you for having me. I love that we have this available, because we want to get to know each other.
Yeah, that was the whole point of this, is get to know the candidates. So thank you so much, Angie, for joining us. Thank you for watching at home or on your phone or wherever you're at. As always, stay safe, League City, and keep wearing that mask.